Marlowe squared his fingers into a viewfinder on Princess Shalmar, and she obliged with a line from her bubble bath routine that had packed clubs for years. "Darling, who's minding the bubble machine?" "Don't worry," said Marlowe. "The bubble machine's always safe with me, and no one looks better in bubbles than you." He turned his attention on Bertolt Brecht and Charlie Chaplin, joining Sam Bunny and Lester Bester after their sold-out show. Later, it was just Marlowe alone in a room with the four serious men of funny. Not funny talk, but funny. They puzzled the double twist, where the ironic punchline is no longer seen as ironic. Is irony a subtle color? You see it or you don't? Is no irony the new irony? When is a joke not a joke? And when is not a joke a joke? And what happens when nobody knows the difference? Bertolt Brecht asked, "What happens to the holes when the cheese is gone?" Bunny asked, "What does God do on his days off?" Lester said, "Ask Charlie." Chaplin, adored by millions, didn't like speaking to crowds or being in crowds and said that he liked work and teenage wives. Then Charlie asked about the new Bunny and Bester movie. Said Sam, "So here's the setup. A rat chews a wire in Cincinnati. Chicago goes dark. One thing leads to another, and it all leads back to us. On our tails is Mr. Small, Mr. Medium, and Mr. Big, and an ambitious DA, who all work for Mrs. Large. Well, we don't care about small, medium, or big, and we have dirt on the DA. But we remember Mr. Large, who had a sweet voice irresistible to a little birdie who should have been wiser. And when Mrs. Large learned of their cooing, she diced them bite-size in a stew. We were there, and we were hungry. Those were lean years." Interrupted Lester. "Mrs. Large ain't little, but no one noticed. She was a smallish woman, almost petite. Still, we didn't fancy another lunch, and we bailed. The next thing you know, we're in La République du Bonga Bonga selling handmade spirit totems, as if a tremor of life passed through them. For the discerning collector, serious inquiry only. We open on two cannibals eating a clown. One cannibal says to the other, 'You taste something funny?' It's our usual cheerfully hostile rivalry. Some evil spells are cast, some prophecies are made. I fall in love, he falls in love, we all fall in love, and we all fall out of love." Brecht and Chaplin pledged cameos. It was the future. Their agents would never catch wind. When they slipped out, Lester said to Marlowe, "Picasso said to turn to you, Marlowe, when you needed someone to help out in a tight turn." Marlowe sat up, and a box was placed before him. He opened the box, and some enchanted particles rose upward in a rainbow, then exploded like Tibetan fireworks into 5 glittery rotating spirals that spun apart to rejoin as a single spiral. It slipped through Marlowe's hands like silver, a rain of silver raining down, and rained back into the box. Sam Bunny tipped the box over onto the table. The granules made a mirror, like the surface of a dark pool. Marlowe saw only partial pictures, what seers must see when they peer in the dark. Colors ebbed and flowed together and left him breathless. He'd entered into another realm. He saw neutrinos and subatomic particles changing shape and form and charge, and drunk on this beatific hallucination, he looked up to see Bunny and Bester evaporate. Holograms or ghosts or avatars made of smoke. This case would be like no other. Not what Marlowe was expecting when Smarty interrupted his tete-a-tete with Yvonne DiCarlo. His beeper twitched. "Need you in back." Left out of that communication. Bunny and Bester have been written out of history, and I'm with them. We are in the future and can't get back. Sam Bunny and Lester Bester and Art Smitten were stuck in the future and couldn't get back. What did it mean? And where do I begin? Marlowe asked himself. Instantly, he heard Art Smitten. You dip your brush in the paint pot and you paint. Marlowe knew a work of art was required, but felt he was an apprentice without a sorcerer. How do you become more than you are?